All of us prophets on the screen and here in person. How do we feel about being a prophet? Are we jumping in with both feet? Or are we feeling a bit tentative? Jesus' experience in today's gospel offers us a glimpse of the challenges we face in walking the prophetic path. Whether we're close to home as he was, or in the wider sphere. This morning, I invite us to look more closely at the challenges of being a prophet and what we need to do to walk this path authentically. Each of us is a prophet in our own way. And I would like to offer what I believe are 3 essential qualities of an authentic prophet. The 3 L's: love, listening, and letting go. First is love, something that Jim and Eileen spoke about the last couple weeks during their homilies. Love must be at the heart of everything we say and do. If we are challenging or critiquing something, it has to come from a place of love. God is love. And if our words and actions are to embody prophetically the Spirit of God, they must be rooted in love. Second is listening. We need to listen closely to the pulse of the Spirit deep within us and to the Spirit living in the world around us. Contemplative listening is essential to careful discernment of prophetic action. Third is letting go. As Joan Chittister said in our second reading, prophets lived in the present for the sake of a future not their own. And they call us to do the same. For us, it is imperative that we not be attached to a particular outcome. We need to be willing to speak or act prophetically, let go, and trust that the Spirit will use that action to bring about something new in the present and the future. The 3 L's, love, listening, and letting go, are key to walking the prophetic path authentically. Just as the people in Jesus's hometown were challenged to see him, a carpenter and son of Mary, as a prophet, we too can be challenged to see and hear prophets among us. Surely we recognize public prophets such as Thomas Merton, Joan Chittister, Mahatma Gandhi, Dorothy Day, Nelson Mandela, Patricia Friesen, Martin Luther King. But those prophets closer to home may require us to listen with a heart attuned in a different way. I have found this to be the case with my brother, Bill. Bill is a few years older than I am, and if he were born today, would probably be diagnosed somewhere on the autism spectrum. He's very high functioning, owns and maintains his own home, and was gainfully employed for over 45 years. Bill lives a couple miles away and for years has come over on Saturdays to have lunch together. My frustrations with his lack of response at times in conversations have made it hard for me to hear his prophetic message. I have undergone a transition in how I understand my brother, and now appreciate his gentleness and simplicity more than I ever did. During the last 6 months, the God of surprise has spoken to me through Bill. I felt a heightened awareness that his heart is purer than mine, that he is listening to his heart the best way he can, and is trying to be fully who he is called to be. Although, depending on the subject, it can be challenging for him to have a strong conversation. His presence at family gatherings, his faithfulness as a friend, and his prayerful ways speak volumes. All these qualities come forth from a loving and listening heart that is not attached to an outcome. After all these years, I have finally come to know him as a prophet, close to home, living Spirit's message. Perhaps we can each ask ourselves, who in my life is a prophet close to home? Is the God of surprise beckoning me to look in an unlikely place? A second illustration I want to share is a brief story from a recent issue of the Philadelphia Inquirer. It's written by Mary Ann Malloy, nurse manager of the neonatal labor and delivery at Einstein Medical Center in Philadelphia. Mary Ann speaks admiringly of her mother, Cecilia Matthews, who worked as a hospital nurse for many years and set an unforgettable example of hard work, compassion, and caregiving for her and the family. As Mary Ann described in glowing terms, the lasting impact her mother Cecilia's actions had on her career and family, I felt prophets named Cecilia and Mary Ann walking among us. After 21 years as a nurse on the very busy medical surgical floor, Mary Ann moved into the neonatal intensive care department. When she first began there, she doubted she could effectively meet the family's many challenging needs. Her mother confidently reassured Mary Ann that she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Years later, Mary Ann said that she has held the hands of more parents than she could count, cared for her staff like her family, and weathered a pandemic. In her words, I am present in each moment. I have found that my passion is in creating that moment, no matter how small, that will make a difference for one person. Mary Ann and her late mother, Cecilia's words and actions were rooted in love. They listened to the needs of their patients, families, and staff, and let go, trusting their presence in that moment would be enough. Mary Ann met the God of surprise during her career transition and continues her prophetic walk of caring presence. Let's each ask ourselves, how is the God of surprise calling me to be a prophet in the ordinary moments of my life? In my family, at work, in ministry, in the neighborhood, community. I close with these words from the great 20th century prophet, Thomas Merton. A tree gives glory to God, first of all, by being a tree. This particular tree will give glory to God by spreading out its roots in the earth and raising its branches in the air in a way that no other tree before or after it ever did or ever will do. Just as the trees do, each of us has a unique prophetic call that only we can fulfill. So, all you prophets sitting here, thank you for loving, listening, and letting go so you can be the prophet God calls you to be.